You wake up in this universe and congratulations, you've just been born. But here's the thing, you're not human. You're not even close. You've entered existence as a Saiyan, one of the most feared warrior races in the galaxy. And while that might sound exciting at first, trust me when I say this, your life is about to become a nightmare that makes every dystopian novel look like a children's bedtime story. Picture this moment. You've just taken your first breath, and instead of being placed in your mother's arms for comfort and warmth, you're immediately ripped away and shoved into a cold mechanical incubator. Your mother doesn't get to hold you, doesn't get to bond with you, doesn't even get a moment to process what just happened. She's sent straight back to her duties because in Saiyan society, there's no such thing as maternity leave. There's no such thing as family time. There's only the mission. Your parents won't raise you. They can't raise you, even if they wanted to. The concept of parenthood as we understand it simply doesn't exist among the Saiyan warrior class. These aren't cruel people by nature, but they've been systematically conditioned to view you not as their child, but as another soldier in the making, another weapon to be forged. You don't belong to them. You belong to the army from the moment you draw your first breath. While you're floating in that incubator, completely helpless and unaware of what's happening, the military is already running tests on you. They're measuring something called your power level, and this single number is about to determine your entire future. Everything about your life, where you'll live, what you'll do, whether you'll even survive, comes down to this assessment. If you're unlucky enough to be born with a very low power level, you might actually catch a break. You'll be handed over to the non-combatants and raised for mundane tasks. Cleaning facilities, preparing meals, constructing buildings. It's not glamorous work, but it's peaceful. You'll live a quiet life away from the endless violence that defines Saiyan culture. Compared to what awaits everyone else, this is practically winning the lottery. But if your power level shows even moderate potential, things get much worse. You might find yourself selected for one of King Vegeta's experimental programs, where babies are sent alone to distant worlds with a simple mission: conquer the entire planet or die trying. The logic is brutally simple. If you succeed, the Saiyans gain a new territory. If you fail and die, well, no significant loss occurred. These missions have an almost non-existent success rate, but that doesn't stop them from continuing the program. For most Saiyan children, though, having a decent power level means something far more terrifying. You'll be raised as a low-class warrior, which sounds impressive, until you understand what that actually entails. You'll spend your early years in massive military facilities, surrounded by thousands of other children just like you. There's no individual attention, no personal care, no emotional support. You're just another number in an endless production line of soldiers. When you're finally old enough to understand basic concepts, they'll start your education. But don't expect traditional learning. Science historically didn't value education at all. The only reason they teach you to read and perform basic mathematics is because their overlords in the Cold Force demand it. You need to be able to operate their spacecraft, understand their orders, and use their advanced technology. Every lesson serves a military purpose. Your indoctrination begins immediately alongside these basic skills. They'll teach you to take pride in destruction, to see the complete annihilation of entire civilizations as something noble and honorable. This isn't just military training, it's psychological conditioning designed to reshape your moral compass entirely. They want you to believe that genocide is glorious, that wiping out peaceful populations is the highest form of Saiyan achievement. Ironically, these early educational years might be the closest thing to happiness you'll ever experience. There's structure, routine, and you're learning alongside others your age. You don't fully understand what's being prepared for you yet, so there's still room for something resembling childhood wonder. But this phase doesn't last long. The moment you demonstrate that you can read basic instructions and control your energy output, everything changes. Real training begins, and this is where your life transforms into something that would break most beings. They'll teach you fundamental Saiyan combat techniques, starting with energy projection attacks. At first, channeling this power feels incredible, like you're connecting with something greater than yourself. Then comes the fighting. They'll pair you with other children your age for brutal combat exercises. These aren't friendly sparring matches or controlled training scenarios. They're vicious, no-holds-barred battles, where the goal is to be the last one standing. The instructors organize these fights constantly, claiming it's essential for developing the next generation of warriors. But watching the older soldiers place bets on which child will survive makes it clear these events serve as entertainment as much as training. When they decide you've progressed enough in basic combat, you'll advance to the second phase of training, and this is where things become truly horrific. You'll meet the Cybermen for the first time, vicious plant-like creatures discovered on one of the Cold Force's conquered worlds. These beings are incredibly powerful, far stronger than any child could hope to match. Your assignment is simple in concept, but terrifying in practice. Fight them and survive. Your first encounter with a Cyberman will be a massacre. They'll completely overwhelm you, beating you within inches of your life before the instructors intervene. Just when you think you might die from your injuries, they'll drag you back from the brink of death and throw you into another fight. This cycle repeats endlessly. Brutal defeat, emergency medical intervention, and immediate return to combat. The trainers know perfectly well that your small, developing body can't match these creatures in direct combat. That's not the point. They're deliberately pushing you to near-death experiences because Saiyans possess a unique biological trait. They grow significantly stronger after surviving life-threatening situations. This is called a Zenkai boost, and they'll exploit this mechanism ruthlessly to force your rapid development. Every day brings fresh agony and humiliation. You'll watch some of your fellow trainees die during these exercises, and nobody mourns their loss. Instead, the instructors will tell you that dying in pursuit of strength is the greatest honor a Saiyan can achieve. It's a twisted philosophy, but when you're surrounded by constant pain, that makes it feel meaningful. The survivors and suffering, you'll cling to any explanation of this phase, face one final challenge. Before being deemed ready for active duty, you'll learn to control the Uzaru transformation, the ability to become a massive, powerful great ape under specific conditions. To trigger this transformation, the trainers use artificial moon generators, forcing your body to undergo this change whether you're ready or not. Here's where things get even more disturbing. There's no real technique for controlling this power, no established method or training protocol. Every Saiyan's experience is different, so they simply tell you to focus and try to maintain some level of consciousness during the transformation. That's it. No guidance, no structured approach, just raw willpower against overwhelming instinct. You'll spend weeks primarily in your transformed state, barely remembering what it feels like to exist in your normal body. The constant transformations leave you physically and mentally exhausted. You're losing touch with your own identity, becoming less of a person and more of a weapon they're sharpening for future conflicts. If you manage to develop even basic control over this form, enough to follow orders while transformed, that's considered sufficient for a low-class warrior. True mastery is extraordinarily rare, something only exceptional individuals achieve. For someone like you, basic functional control is all they expect, and all you need to survive what comes next. And now comes the moment they've been preparing you for your entire life. You're finally ready for active duty, ready to fulfill the destiny they've drilled into your mind since you could barely walk. Whether you actually want this life or not has never been a consideration. You're a Saiyan warrior now, and this is what Saiyans do. During your training years, you somehow managed to forget most of the pain and trauma you endured. Your mind has a way of protecting itself, pushing those memories into dark corners where they can't hurt you as much. Now, as you prepare for your first real mission, you're actually feeling something that might be excitement. The adults always talked about conquest like it was this grand adventure, this opportunity to explore the universe and engage in thrilling battles against worthy opponents. You convince yourself that maybe this won't be so bad. Sure, you're not thrilled about the idea of wiping out entire species, but at least you'll be free, right? Free to travel among the stars, to test your strength against interesting enemies, to prove yourself as a warrior. Because deep down you can't deny it, you are a Saiyan, and fighting does give you a certain rush. The adrenaline, the challenge, the satisfaction of victory, it's in your blood. But everything they told you was a lie. Every single story about Saiyan glory, every tale of easy conquest and overwhelming superiority. Complete fiction designed to make you eager for a life that will destroy you. The reality of being a Saiyan warrior is absolutely miserable. When you were young, they filled your head with stories about how Saiyans were the strongest race in the universe, how entire civilizations would surrender at the mere sight of a Saiyan warrior, how conquering worlds was as simple as showing up and flexing your power. None of it was true. Conquering planets is brutal, exhausting work. Many of these worlds have powerful military forces willing to fight to their last breath to protect their homes. Others possess advanced technology that gives them significant advantages over raw physical strength. Some civilizations use forms of magic or develop abilities that are completely unpredictable and impossible to counter with conventional fighting techniques. And some planets even have their own teams of heroes protecting them. Individuals who are often stronger than you, better trained than you, and fighting with the desperate fury that comes from defending everything they love. Since Frieza took control of what's now called the Frieza Force, everything has gotten exponentially worse for Saiyan warriors. Frieza has a particular strategy when it comes to deploying Saiyans. He only sends your people to the most dangerous planets, the ones with the highest resistance levels and greatest potential for casualties. He claims this is because Saiyans are his most capable warriors, but many whisper that the truth is far darker. Some believe Frieza actively despises the Saiyan race and takes pleasure in watching them suffer and die in increasingly difficult battles. More often than not, conquering a single planet requires multiple attempts. You'll attack, get beaten back, retreat to recover from severe injuries, and then return to try again. Each attempt leaves you more battered and broken than the last. The fights aren't even exciting or honorable, they're pure chaos. Desperate, ugly, brutal affairs where survival matters more than skill or technique. And when you do finally manage to claim victory, that's when the real horror begins. Your orders are always the same: complete elimination. Every man, woman, and child on the planet must die. No exceptions, no mercy, no hesitation allowed. You're expected to murder families, to kill children who pose no threat to anyone, to erase entire cultures and histories without a second thought. For you, this is heartbreaking. Maybe other Saiyans have learned to suppress their emotions completely, or maybe they're just better at hiding their feelings, but you can't shake the weight of what you're doing. Every victory feels hollow and meaningless. You're not a warrior or a conqueror. You're just an executioner carrying out someone else's death sentences. The worst part is that you don't even get to keep anything from these conquests. No rewards, no compensation, no recognition for your efforts. Everything of value goes directly to Frieza. For a low-class warrior like yourself, there isn't even a basic salary. You survive on scraps you can scavenge during the chaos of battle, whatever small items you can grab before the official looting begins. This becomes your existence for years. No rest, no peace, no time to recover between missions. You spend more time injured and broken than you do healthy and whole. After every single assignment, you're rushed to a medical pod to heal your wounds, only to be sent out again the moment you're deemed fit for combat. You start to crave those medical pods. Despite the discomfort of floating in that strange healing fluid, it's the only time you experience anything resembling tranquility. The isolation, the silence, the temporary absence of pain, it becomes your sanctuary in a life that offers no other moments of peace. But it's during these quiet periods of recovery that dangerous thoughts begin to take root in your mind. Thoughts you can't shake, ideas that grow stronger every time you're forced back into that healing chamber. You start to realize that you can't keep living like this. The exhaustion has reached a point where it's not just physical anymore. It's crushing your spirit, destroying whatever remains of your soul. You need to find a way out. Your first instinct is to consider escape, just abandoning everything and running away to start a new life somewhere else. But reality quickly crushes that fantasy. Frieza's scouter technology tracks every movement of his warriors. With a reputation Saiyans have earned across the galaxy as ruthless destroyers, there's nowhere safe for you to go, even if you could evade detection. You'd be constantly hunted, constantly looking over your shoulder, never able to truly rest. And then there's the pride, that damned Saiyan pride that you've spent your entire life trying to reject and mock. You know it's just propaganda, just another tool they use to manipulate you. But it still lives somewhere deep in your chest. The thought of running away like a coward feels unbearable, even though you hate the life they've forced upon you. What you really want is revenge. Revenge against Frieza, the architect of your people's suffering. Revenge against Prince Vegeta, who sits at the top of the hierarchy and does nothing to help those beneath him while benefiting from the same system that enslaves everyone else. For the first time in your life, you're seeing the situation clearly. This isn't just painful, it's completely unacceptable. So there you have it. The complete nightmare of Saiyan existence. From the moment you're ripped from your mother's arms and thrown into military conditioning, to the endless cycle of brutal training, forced transformations, and meaningless conquests that define your adult life. You're not a person, you're a weapon forged through systematic abuse and deployed for someone else's empire. The legendary warrior race is really just a story about what happens when an entire civilization becomes trapped in a cycle of violence, propaganda, and hopelessness that destroys everyone it touches.